Hi everyone, I'm Allie with Potomac Beads. Join me in playing around with our new tubelets and some long crystals to make this Illuminati bracelet. If you need any of the materials, you can go to the links below the video in the descriptions and order from us at PotomacBeads.com as well as PotomacBeads.eu. Let's get started. So we're going to begin the Illuminati bracelet with an actual black thread in 0.006 wildfire beading thread, and I am working with 2 needles. So I haven't worked with 2 needles in a while, so it's kind of fun to get back to that. And because we have the 2 needles, we're going to begin by putting on our cup button. To put the cup button on, I want you to put an 11, a 15, and an 11 into the middle of that 2 pieces of thread, which is about 5 feet of beading thread. You want to make sure that you have equal amounts of thread on both sides, and then you're going to take your button with 1 needle going through one hole, 1 through the other, so that it looks like a bowl that's turned upside down. Those little 11s and the 15s are just going to stick right in the middle there. I'm using the Crystal Lab Full 11O seed bead in the Miyuki with the check coating, and then the 15O I'm also using a check coating in the black chrome 15O. Coming out the back then of that cup button, I want you to use 3 11s on both the right needle and 3 11s on the left needle. Let those groupings of 11Os drop back next to your cup button, and then we're going to get ready with our first tubelet bead. So if you haven't checked out the tubelets yet, they are a 1-hole check bead, and we're going to do the interior of our project here with the Crystal Lab. I'm going to do the lava red on the exterior. So our pattern, the first thing we're going to be doing is taking one of my lava red beads, and we're going to crisscross through the bead. So my one needle is going to go from the right to the left, and the other needle from the left to the right. Again, making sure that you have equal amounts of thread on both sides of the needle. So kind of pull the needles at the same time, dropping them down next to that button. From here, we're going to go up basically the right side and the left side of the project, adding in another set of our tubelets, and then our crystal, and then another tubelets, and crisscrossing through again. So we're going to be adding here a 15O on both right and left. Then you're going to add a tubelet on both the right and the left. Then a 15, 11 crystal spacer, and I'm doing that in the black color, 11, 15 tubelet. And then 1 more 15. So I did that on my right side here, going in and adding that pattern. I'm going to do the same thing on the left, which I have started. So I'm going in there, the 11s, and then I put on my spacer, 11, 15, add another tubelet, and end with a 15. Let that all drop down. And here's again where we're going to crisscross through another tubelet. So pick up another one of your red. Right now we're just using the lava red, and we're crisscrossing through one needle from the right to the left and the other from the left to the right. Once you have that first crisscross, you have that first little opening for the Illuminati. From here, we are going to repeat the exact same pattern. To repeat the same pattern, we are going to start over on the right and the left. So 15, tubelet, 15, 11, crystal, 11, 15, tubelet, 15. I did this on the right hand side and let that drop down. I'm going to do it on the left hand side and then cross through again. We're going to create our series of O's here as we build the base of the bracelet. We'll add a loop for the clasp, and then we'll come back down and add in some more of our flare. Once I have my amount of loops, and in my case here I have 7, I'm going to basically do the opposite that I did at the start here. So coming out of my last tubelet in that lava red, I have both my needles in my hands. I'm going to give kind of a nice tight pull, and it will stretch the tiniest bit because we are going to be kind of stretching these out a little bit. I'm going to add 3 11s to both the right and the left needle. Once you have those 3 11s on, let them drop down next to your last tubelet bead, and then you're going to pick up one of your spacer beads. This is going to be the last of the spacer beads, and I'm going through one right to left and the other left to right and crossing down through those. That's going to allow that to sit kind of right after the bead, and that's going to give me a period or a space that I can put my loop on for my clasp. I'm going to head and kind of use this time to clean up all of these little crystal lab seed beads that I have on my mat, adding about 28 or so onto my right hand cord, and that right thread will go first through these seed beads. I'll then take the left thread and go back through, reinforcing this loop that I just made with all the seed beads. I find that, again, that loop is a great place to kind of clean up the mat and gather up all the 15s that you may, or 11s that you may have still left on the mat. Keep in mind, if you want to use a clasp or something with a closure, you would do that now as well. And I always suggest using a wire guard or a wire guardian to be able to kind of put that on nicely without having a lot of extra thread showing, or with just giving it a nice polished and secure end. So again, after you have your loop big enough that your button will fit through, take that thread that's in your hand and go back through that spacer bead, making your loop. And then the other thread here that's on the left-hand side, I'm going to go back through all of those beads, not adding anymore, just reinforcing, and out. So my thread ends are going to end on either side currently of my spacer bead. So next up is getting our Crystal Lab Fool tubelets in place, and they're going to lay kind of right along the interior. So on the interior line here, they are going to lay and kind of frame out our crystal. So coming out here, I'm going to switch kind of the direction that I'm holding my beads here, and I'm going to take my thread and needle up through on the right hand side that first 3 seed beads right near the clasp. Pull that thread out, and then also through the tubelet bead. The needle that's on the left, same thing. We're going to go through those 3 beads down the left, and we are going to cross through the tubelet. At this point, you do want to kind of give a nice little tight pull. Make sure that you don't have any extra thread showing out and popping and getting there, that you want it to be kind of exposed along the sides. All right, so coming out the tubelet here, we're going to grab 3 15s with both the right needle on there. I'm going to go up here and grab my 3 15s with my left needle. The next thing we're going to do is crisscross through one of our 11-0 seed beads. So we're crisscrossing like we've been doing, where we have one needle going through right to left and the other left to right. Pull that down, and it's going to create basically a little X right after the tubelet bead. On the right needle, go ahead and add one of your tubelets in the silver color. Remember, we're done with our exterior color and we're on to the interior color. And we're going to add a tubelet on the left needle as well. Making sure you add it to the correct project, adding 1 to each side and letting that drop down. Again, give that nice tight pull, kind of get those tubelets right in there so they're sitting right in that nice V after that 11-0 seed bead. We're now going to add 1 15-0 on the right needle, 1 on the left needle, and then you're going to come down to that spacer bead on the side. And the spacer bead on the side, I'm going to go through the 11, the spacer bead, and the 11, the right needle to the right side, and make sure that tubelet kind of sits to the front. Coming out then, I'm going to add a 15, a tubelet, and I'll add that 11-0 seed bead there while I have that in my hand. Again, on the other side here, we're mimicking or doing exactly the same thing, going through on the left through the 11, spacer, 11, so we're always going to catch to the side there. Coming out, go ahead and add a 15, another one of your tubelets, and then we're going to cross through that 11-0 seed bead. So I had already added it to the right hand needle. I'm going to take the left hand needle and cross through. So that way they're coming out opposite sides. When I pull that down nice and tight, you can see it's kind of framed out there. And then we're going to go in to our tubelet here, into the red, add 3 15s on the right, go through the tubelet, 3 15s on the left, and through the tubelet from the left towards the right. That's going to get that silver tubelet design right along the top of the piece here. And there you have the silvers in, creating that nice frame for us to frame out our crystal. So again, now that we came down, adding the red, we're gonna go up through and add in our silver. So coming out the tublet, you're gonna add 3 15s, then 1 11, then a tublet, then a 15. And you're gonna think about that needle is gonna go to the opposite side through the 11, the cylinder, or the spacer rather, and the 11, add a 15, and another one of your silver tublets. You can see I'm just trying to show you how you can do this a little quicker. And then you're gonna add an 11-0, 3 of your seed beads, and then through the tublet on the other side. So that kind of gets that frame that you can see there. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side here, crossing through the 11s, going down the side, crossing through that 11, and doing the 15. So that's kind of a fast way to get along the edge, adding in the crystal lab. Coming out the end of the bracelet here, you're gonna be done framing out the silver beads here. And coming out the end, I have my needle coming out both the right and the left side of the tublet. I'm gonna go up through the 3 11s before the cup button, out through the cup button, and at the same time, if you can catch on to those beads, it's much easier. So I have the needle coming out through my first 11. I'm gonna go down through the 15, the 11, and then down through the cup button on the other side. And as you come out, go ahead and catch on through those seed beads, because that's reinforcing and getting that next piece of thread through there and set up and ready to go. Take your left needle then and go back through as well, and you're gonna exit through either side of the tublets. So it's gonna be basically back to the starting spot of this step, coming out then on either side. And we'll get ready to add our bling then down the center. And keep in mind, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 open rings here. And for my wrist size, I have a smaller wrist size, so 7 is kind of standard. 6 is going to be a little bit more to size if you do have a smaller wrist when you're working on it. So now we're gonna get ready to add some bling down the center of our Illuminati bracelet. So to get set up to put our little bling and crystal and kind of make it set, you can see that I flipped the bracelet over. So the silver is kind of facing to the front of the design because we're going to be dropping in the Rivolis from the back. So the crystals that we're dropping in here, they sit a little bit further down the hole along the back here. And because of that, we're going to be adding them to the back so that way they come out and kind of pop to the top. So coming out of, we're getting our threaded needle, so we're coming out of the 15-0 right after one of our lava red tubelet beads. From here, I'm going to add in 3 15s and go through, when it's facing kind of sitting on a square, through one of the side holes of my Rivoli. I'm going to grab 3 more 15s with that same needle, and I'm going to go through the 15, or I'm sorry, the 11, the crystal, and the 11, and out after so. This same threaded needle is going to grab 3 more 15s, go through the second hole of that same Rivoli along the bottom here, straight through to the other side, grab in 3 more 15s, and then go up through, again, the 11, the 15, the tublet, and out. On this other side here, we're reinforcing and doing the exact same thing. So you're gonna go through and crisscross through the 15s again. So this thread here, I'm not picking up any beads. I'm going through the 3 15s. I'm going to go through the 11, crystal 11, and out. Go through the 3 15s, so you're basically just zigzagging the whole way. Go through the 3 15s. Thread and needle goes in between the 15 and the 11. Through the 15, the tublet, the 15, and out. Then give a nice tight pull on either side here. You have your threads coming out the sides of the 15s and the tubelets. And we're gonna get ready to start over. So threads go through, crisscrossing through the tublet. One goes through the right, one goes through the left. I'm gonna turn over the design so you can see exactly kind of how that crystal is going to sit right along the middle and get framed out by the tubelets. So it sits right there, right kind of perfectly. So you're gonna continue then again to keep adding in your Rivolis going through, coming out between the 15 and the 11, crisscrossing through with 3 15s added between each, and adding your Rivoli settings right down the middle of the design to get that nice blinged out frame with the Rivoli. Just to show a little trick too, again, I had said I had made mine 7 long, and that was too big for me. You can see how kind of they fit really, really perfectly nestled in there. And as I was looking at it, I was thinking, oh, if you do happen to want to make your loop, instead of making the seed bead loop, you could actually make the loop just like this here and end with the tublet. What that does is gives just enough space for a perfect fit for the cup button. That I can actually use this as my loop for the button, especially if you use a crystal button. It'll fit right inside of there, hold in place and stay, and have that nice ending. I could, if I wanted to, actually tuck that underneath and have it kind of be finished with those 6, but I'll go ahead and add the 7th. The only thing I'm gonna have to do then after I'm done is after I add in my last one here and tie off, I'm gonna take my thread and needle back through to reinforce the loop, tie the 2 thread ends together, and finish up this really fun Illuminati bracelet. It's kind of in colors that I wouldn't normally use, but the perfect fit is just kind of amazing. I love how kind of they pop out the top where you can push them down in if you want to push them a little bit flatter when they're on the wrist, and really it just makes those crystals pop with that framed out tublet bead. I did decide to have that one crystal exposed so that way I can wear the bracelet. And I went in and actually burned off the thread loop that I had and just kind of have that nice kind of closure then that I can tuck below or above the piece, depending on kind of how I put my button in. And having a nice finished edge there to give that nice kind of crystal blingy look to it. So I did go ahead and use that as my button end. And all I did then again, tied those 2 thread ends together, and then my Illuminati bracelet is completed. If you want to and do this kind of fun button end, keep in mind you can also glue a crystal in there. And I actually think I have a black dress that it'll look really nice with, and to show it on, here's kind of that showing off of that Illuminati bracelet. As always, thanks so much for watching me do the Illuminati bracelet. Hopefully you get a chance to play with the tubelets and build along. They are super fun, and I love the blinginess of this design and how they really just frame out the crystal perfectly. Keep in mind, if you need any tubelets or any materials, down below the video there are links to purchase from us online at PotomacBeads.com as well as PotomacBeads.eu. We hope you enjoy the tubelets as much as we have been playing around with this new awesome bead. As always, you can give a little thumbs up, comment below, and say how you did to change up the design or any suggestions that you have, as well as subscribe to this YouTube channel to get regular updates from us when we do new videos, have new tutorials, show spotlights on new beads, and also better beader episodes. Thanks so much for joining and making the Illuminati bracelet.